everybody, welcome back to the channel. This is Rob here at Smirking Gun Reviews, and I told myself again that I really wasn't going to review comics until I got my new camera. But there's a book that just came out that I've been really excited about. I heard about it a little while ago, and I made sure it got my pull list, and that was Giant Size X-Men Fantomex one-shot. Now, all the Giant Size X-Men, starting with Jean Grey and Emma Frost, then Nightcrawler, then Magneto, have all been written by Jonathan Hickman. This is no different. And, well, there's been mixed reactions to these. I'm starting to think that these are all basically part of one whole story, basically surrounding Storm dying in 30 days. That's what I think is happening. I don't know. Everything seems to have a little bit of a piece of something. Like Jean Grey and Emma Frost are the first ones who go in, find out the children of the Vault put a machine virus in Storm that's going to kill her. And in Giant Size X-Men Magneto, he goes to find a place for Emma Frost and takes a key. Now, I don't know if all this is going to end up meaning anything, but this story kind of continues in this. By the end of it, Storm shows up looking for Fantomex, finds him, and needs his help to get into this place called the World so that they can save her life. Now, this is a pretty good book, because I really like the character of Fantomex. Some people don't. In fact, he's been gone for a while, and that's one of the reasons why I'm doing this review, is to talk about stuff that they don't cover in this that has really been missing and nobody really talks about. And I've tried talking about it in the past, and I've kind of basically been ignored. But maybe I'm a conspiracy theorist of comic books and what's actually going on, but I want to discuss it. First thing I want to discuss is the whole thing with Storm dying from a machine virus, with the whole resurrection protocols. I know that nobody wants to die, but if she dies, she can just come back. I mean, I know that there's a reason to keep her alive, but I mean, if she's like, if I'm going to die in 30 days, why don't you just end me? But if she dies, if they try to bring her back with the machine virus, I don't know, possibly get into what they do, like create a virus throughout the whole resurrection process. I don't know. Maybe the reason that they're keeping her alive, maybe the reason that they need to fix Storm, and it's so important to fix Storm, is to find a cure for this virus. It might come down to something as simple as that. But for me, part of me was just like, well, what's the big deal? You know, like, because one of the biggest things about Dawn of X has been, like, if you can die and come back, then what's the importance of death? And so when I first heard this story of her dying, I was like, so what? But not like, so what as in, oh no, like, we don't want any character to die. It's like when Charles Xavier gets shot in, like, the first issue of X-Force, it's like, whoa, it's still, like, or Kitty Pryde getting killed in Marauders and not being able to come back yet. You know, plot. So when I picked this up, because of Fantomex. I didn't pick this up because I thought it was going to have any greater meaning to the Dawn of X story. I thought what they were going to do was talk about where Fantomex has been. But they don't do that here. You know, does that make it as a bad book? No. In fact, it's a pretty good book. Hickman's writing is really good, and if you like Rod Reis's art, which I happen to really like when they use him in New Mutants, is really nice. But really what we have here is just showing Fantomex's origins and how he's got this struggle to always try to get back to the place that created him, and the choices that they made and when he was born. And so when they open, right, they talk about, because Fantomex is this guy who's got like multiple brains, and he's these experiments, and they show how he's created, you know, in this place that can make, you know, anything. And the world would consider what they're doing there horrifying, because it is. They make, you know, like take all these kids, right? Well, when they were making them, two of them became the same, except they picked one to stay and picked one to go. Like throw the other one away. And so one stuck in the world and one was Fantomex, and Fantomex is out in the world trying throughout the years and how long it's been. So this kind of establishes how old he is, right? Because this is, with Nick Fury and the Howling Commandos. And he convinces them to go back and fight to help him get back into the world. Which is, like I said, this like big laboratory that very much looks like an AIM place. And another thing is, it's very Fantomex, the way that Fantomex used to be, where he's basically leading the people that are expendable to him, and it's just to get him what he wants. So he's been kind of a lot of ways you could look at him as kind of a bad guy who just uses people, and that's the way he was for a really long time until he kind of became more of a hero in pretty much a straight up hero in Uncanny X-Force, depending on how you look at it. Because Uncanny X-Force by Remender is a pretty dark story. It's amazing. If you haven't checked out Uncanny X-Force by Remender, I highly recommend it. It's one of the best X books I've ever read. So he gets in there, and he basically just needed them to just distract the defenses of the world. And it's a pretty cool, having these characters in there. But he finds the other him, but the other him is young. So there's something probably about the rules of time in the world that work differently than when we're on the outside. And he doesn't want to go anywhere. He's still got stuff to figure out. So then you jump ahead with Fantomex propositioning the Hellfire Club. Because, you start with some soldiers, right? Well, that didn't work, getting past the defenses. He goes to the Hellfire Club, and these people are fucking powerful mutants, right? We got Sebastian Shaw, who's, really, really powerful, and the rest of them. And he uses them to get into the world. And offering them, what does he say? You will not oppose our asserted rights to pillage and plunder the place. But he doesn't care. He agrees to anything because he doesn't really care if they make it or not. In fact, he figures they won't. And so he gets in there, and this place just turns into this crazy, it's not the same. The defenses have changed since he was last there. And he's, the Hellfire Club is immediately like, oh God, what did we sign up for? I did not sign up for this. We got to get out of here. And so he finds himself, and now he is older, right? I love the art in this. It's so abstract looking, and just the way that how they describe the world. Rod Reis is the perfect person to draw this. So he asked him if he was ready to leave, and he's like, nope, still got work to do. Many of the children of the world to raise. In fact, from now on, it's best if you stay away. So he's in there working on things. So you cut away to, again, years later, he's like, man, I don't even know if I'll go back. But then he puts together kind of like a Deadpool X-Force team, right? Like Deadpool 2 X-Force team of these people to go in there, and they're called the Human Gnots. Red Eye, Emoti Pool, Rustbot, and Mohawk Person. Just hilarious. And they go into this dome, and these poor people, they don't know. Again, he's just using them. He expects them to die. And now the defenses are kind of the same, but even bigger. And it's just the same result over and over and over again. Just blasting away at all these people getting killed. And he was saying, I was at least expecting to make it past the front door. But he ends up seeing the guy again. Now he's in like a suit right here. And he's like, you're like a memory of a time long lost. Something I saw out of the corner of my eye 100 years ago. I see you now, but why can't you see? We're building something here. It cannot be stopped. So another decade later. And we got Fantomex meeting up with Wolverine, this camera, and Cyclops here in a bar. And, he's talking on the phone, like, hey, I'd like to order some medicine for headaches, Tylenol, whatever. Only one of these idiots has a healing factor. So he picks a couple of powerful mutants to go in and help him. And they go in, and again, just like usual, everything just kind of goes wrong. And he finds himself and he says, can you feel it? This experiment, this society is coming to an end. I built the world, but look, I have broken the world. Do I build a new prison here in the ruins, or dare go beyond? I remember the idea of you like a cave painting from 1,000 years ago, some primal direction of man, some primal direction of me. Are you real? Now, then it goes, not decades later, less, and Storm just comes through a Krakoan gate, and there's Fantomex just chilling there with this, like, AIM-looking guy, right? And they're getting ready to go into this place again. But there's Storm shows up with Cyber and somebody, I can't remember who that is. But she's like, there's no other way to say it. I'm dying, and our best mutant scientists believe the only way to save me is inside the world. Once we get there, we're going to need you to guide us. You understand how it works, yeah, he says. Well, it's temporal nonsense. Yeah, that's the gist of it. I can't promise you anything, but you'll do it. AIM has reasserted control of access, but I've paid the ferryman. So AIM is involved in this, which is kind of weird. I haven't seen them in a while. But he's like, I'll get you in the door. But Storm's like, well, I guess then the only question is, what's in it for you? Because I know you don't do charity, and you sure don't believe in goodwill, so can we trust you? He's like, normally, probably not. I love that he's pretty straight up, you know. But I'm working through some of my own stuff, so maybe just this once. Yeah. And, you know, AIM's going in there, Cyber's like, what is he paying you? And he's like, look, seriously, it's a lot. It's a ridiculous amount. Like, change your identity, leave your wife and kids, disappear forever money. But they get in there, and he's like, all right, one last time, welcome to the world. So Fantomex's place where he comes from is this key they're trying to use to save Storm, to find the answer to the machine virus. And they use the Fantomex character as this, you know, the plot device to get inside there. So that part was disappointing. The other major disappointing part of this book was that I was hoping we were going to finally figure out what the hell happened to Fantomex, because he's been gone for a while. And if you don't know the character of Fantomex, he showed up a while ago, but his last hurrah was in my first return, when I returned to comics back in 2016-ish. I picked up Astonishing X-Men #1 by Charles Soule. Very good story, by the way. 7 issues. His run was 7 issues, telling the story of Charles Xavier coming back, fighting the Shadow King, becoming this guy, called him X, not Xavier, X. So they have this huge fight with the Shadow King. And it's really cool, because even then, after they beat Shadow King, they have to fight Proteus, and then the Shadow King returns. He had been a shadow inside Xavier's mind when X's mind when he got out. And they had to use all the psychics in the world with X and Betsy as like the two holding it down to destroy the Shadow King, possibly once and for all. But it's comic books, so yeah, right. So, and I really, if you can get the trade of this and A Man Called X, it's really good. I really like it. Well, Fantomex is part of the team. But it started throughout, or was, you know, after the fact of reading that book, it started making me wonder how much of it was all not planned, right? Because in the end of Astonishing X-Men #7, which this is my lenticular cover. I really dig this cover, actually. In the end, X just shows up. He looks like Xavier. Right? He's like, I know what you're thinking. What am I going to do next? We'll get there. I promise, but first I need to thank you. And they're like, what is going on? What the hell did you do? And they basically go, like, did he's like, I'm not Craven. I'm not, wait, here we go, sorry. uh, you haven't given us any reason to think you're anything but one of the Shadow King's tricks. You know I'm not Raven. You saw me kill the Shadow King. You helped me do it. Did I? I'm starting to think I just helped you kill Fantomex. So when they killed the Shadow King, X used Fantomex's body to return to physical realm. Right? And so they see him there in his Fantomex's suit. And they're like, where's Fantomex? Where is he? I think you just killed him. We saved you, whoever you are. And we don't know what happened to you. And we don't know if we can believe anything we're seeing. And he's like, no, he's fine. Although he had to stay behind in the astral plane, it was the only way I could return. A trade, him for me, flesh for flesh. And Betsy, who got really close to Fantomex, is like, did he have anything to say about this? He's like, oh, he saw it as a gift. He welcomed it. But you can go there to yourself, to the astral plane, and ask him yourself. So she tells Rogue, I'm going to do this. You need to stay and watch this mofo, because we don't know what's really going on. So she goes into the astral plane, and he's just standing there. Bonjour, Betty. And Betsy, and I know some people think he's just like another rip-off of Gambit, but he's so much more than that. Well, he's not that, you know what I mean? Like, he's his own character, but I can see why people would maybe draw similar comparisons, because he's a man of mystery. But what Betsy brings up is this, really good point. He's psychic. He could have placed the thought in your head without you even realizing it, basically saying, you think you're here by choice, but we don't know that. My Xavier would never have done this, but he was trapped here with the Shadow King for so long. And he's like, I will say this. I do not know if freeing Xavier was a choice I actually made. But it was the choice I should have made. I can live with that. Now, the way that the character has grown over the years, I believe him in this moment. That he knows it was the right thing to do. But was the idea his in the first place? So basically he just leaves, right? She leaves him there. And that's where he's been this entire time. Is in the astral plane with no way of getting a new body, right? They never talk about it. They never deal with it. He's just gone. Now, in the book that continues, the next story of Astonishing X-Men, called A Man Called X, they fight Proteus. They end up fighting the Shadow King. Again, it's written by Soule. Sandoval. He does some really great art in this book. But this is where they get all the psychics together and they wipe the Shadow King out. And there's another part where Xavier gives everybody, X gives everybody a gift. And the one that I thought was interesting was Gambit's gift. Where he says, Gambit, I give you purpose. Your debt to Fantomex remains unpaid. Find him, balance the ledger. They have never dealt with this. They've never talked about this since. But if Phantom X is in the astral plane, where is he going to find him? He could use, Betsy or somebody to take him there, somebody powerful. But X doesn't take him there. And they've never dealt with this story since it started. Gambit's been dealing with Excalibur stuff and being married to Rogue. So all that got put in the back burner. Now, I'm not saying that they won't someday deal with this, but this is important stuff to me. I think that, and I keep saying that this is kind of like, if they do go back to this, there's could be real repercussions for Dawn of X in this story, because X comes back after this mission, and he erases everybody's mind of what happened, except for Betsy. And again, there's been a lot of Psylocke in Dawn of X, and not one frickin' mention of any of this. Now, it could be that they're just choosing to ignore it. But Hickman knows this exists, okay? I know Hickman knows this exists. He's a very thorough person. But he's like, you're the only one who will remember. I returned. You watch me. Keep me honest. Okay? They're like talking here, and he doesn't even look at how like he's standing up and he's ripped. He's a new man. Because Fantomex was in pretty good shape. Make sure the Shadow King is truly gone from your mind and soul, and if he's not, I'll kill you both, is what she says. Yes, well put. But he says, you know, he wanted to blame the Shadow King, but there was a darkness in his soul, and he'll be pondering your question for the rest of his life, like, about the part of him that, like, had the Shadow King in his head. But they ask him, like, hey, are you going to come back to the school? He's like, why would I go back to the school? I'm sure Kitty Pryde has things well in hand. The school was Professor Charles Xavier's place, his dream, and from what I can tell, a dream achieved. There's nothing for me in there. I am not Xavier. I am X. I have a new dream. Okay? So, my question is, alright, this guy X has been running around. He's been out there ever since this happened. His new dream. But what is it? They never talk about it. We go through a long time here of the Uncanny X-Men and all the X-Men Blue, X-Men Gold, X-Men Red, and even another run of Astonishing X-Men. You've got Old Man Logan going on during all this, and then they do the Age of X-Man after they bring Uncanny X-Men back for a second, and then, you know, Nathan Summers, comes in as a messiah and takes everybody to another reality-bending world where there is no love anymore, really. Mutants are in charge of things, and it's supposed to be this, like, big old utopia. And then that is like a big old shitstorm. And then it's over, everything just gets rebooted, and we go to Dawn of X, House, you know, like Powers of 10, House of X. All of a sudden supposedly Charles Xavier, just there. Right? We have no explanation of how he's come back. We get a lot of backstory, so we see Xavier, but we don't know. Last everybody knew then, you know, Xavier's been dead, gone, missing until Astonishing X-Men, where this guy named X comes back. So Xavier, if he says I'm not Charles Xavier, then Xavier should be dead. So who brought him back? We've never really had that explained as far as I know. And I kept saying, well, what if this Charles Xavier isn't Charles Xavier, it's this guy X this whole time, and that maybe they're bringing back a version of Charles, right? But who started that all? Who got it all rolling? And where the hell is Fantomex, and how did he get his body back? That's what I'm talking about. I know that this is a lot more than just talking about the giant-sized X-Men that came out. This is the best one that's come out. This is a really great book. But I have questions, and I'm demanding answers eventually. I don't know why anybody else that I follow in the comics world just doesn't talk about this at all. So, and maybe it's because I became new to reading about Fantomex fairly recently, and so my desire to find out what happened to him is like this, you know, detective who is, you know, nobody wants to answer the questions in the case. It's just like, shut up and go away. But I'm not going away. I still am going to keep pressing. Who is X? Where's Charlie? You know, like, is he connected to what's really going on in Dawn of X? And how did Fantomex get his body back? You know, they don't talk about him in the resurrection protocols. They could have just brought him back, but it would have been nice to see it. So anyway, that's my take on all of this. If you like this review, please hit the like button, comment, share, subscribe, hit the bell for all notifications. Hopefully we'll be back with more comic stuff someday when I get my camera, or when I feel like I can't stop myself from talking about a certain kind of book. So anyway, thanks for watching, and we'll see you on the next video.